Welcome back to Limited Supply, the podcast where we get deep into the tactical and strategic side of e-commerce, digital marketing, and building consumer brands. I'm your host, Nick Sharma. I've spent the last 9 years building, scaling, and investing in brands. And through this show and my weekly newsletter at nick.co/email, I'm here to share everything I've learned, the wins, the losses, the experiments, the tactics, and the insights, all so you can unlock your next $100,000 in revenue. Today's episode is a good one, but before we dive in, let me tell you about our chosen sponsor for this week's episode. If you're a Shopify brand, pay attention. Roku Ads Manager is built for growth marketers and makes connected TV way easier to test. Go to advertising.roku.com/limited supply. All right, welcome back to another episode of Limited Supply. Now listen, today's is going to be completely different, all right? Normally, I'm going in super tactical. Maybe I'll bring somebody on. But today we're going to do something completely different. I'm going to actually set up ClawBot as the episode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through every single step and what I'm doing and why it's important and what that function does and how it works with the rest of it and how you can maybe apply that, how that function is going to basically maybe apply to you later within e-commerce or growth or whatever it may be, right? So today's episode is just going to be that. So if you're just listening, maybe you're on a run, you're at the gym, whatever you're doing, keep listening because I'm going to walk through all the context of everything. So when you go back and watch this a second time and set it up, or you go set it up on your own, you're going to have a bunch of context on what you need to do and what are the different pieces that you might be installing or putting together. So stick around for that. And then what I'm also going to do is so you see that there's this video feed that's recording me right now. So if you're just listening audio only, you can go find this on YouTube and you'll see everything. And then I've got my mic. That's what you're hearing my voice from. I'm going to screen record my screen that I'm talking to right now, which is basically going to have, some light setup stuff that I'm going to do. So I can literally show you step by step. And then I'm going to screen record the Mac Mini, the OpenClaw computer, so you can see everything I'm doing there step by step. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a video. I got my phone set up here, and I'm videotaping the screen that my Mac Mini is connected to because I'm going to actually also get every step recorded before I can even get into the actual account and start screen recording. So you're going to get the full view of this. And so whether you're listening or you're watching and you're joining me on this, doing it, one-to-one with me. And if you're doing it one-to-one, watch this or listen to this and then just pause it whenever you're doing something or maybe you get sidetracked on a rabbit hole. Last thing I'm going to say, with all this AI stuff, the rabbit holes is where the gold is. So, typically you try to be super efficient with your time. I do too. I think efficiency is like the number one thing I'm always trying to do. But in this case, try to not be super efficient. And hopefully you're doing this from somewhere between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. And so you've just got all the night hours with you. And, this is the time to get creative and do fun stuff with AI. So I hope I'm joining you on that at that time. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm going to get everything set up. In the meantime, why don't you get everything set up on your end, get your Mac Mini, make sure it's plugged into a screen, make sure you've got a keyboard and mouse. I'm just using the standard Apple keyboard and the Apple mouse, which I'm going to connect in via a lightning cable to make sure they connect and then Bluetooth connect. But grab everything you need, grab a beverage, and I'm going to be back in 2 seconds. All right, welcome back. I'm here. I got everything set up. I got my beverage. I hope you do too. So I'm going to start by just turning this Mac Mini on. All right, so I've got my mouse here. I'm going to just connect the lightning cable in and boom, that looks like, just click around. Yep, looks like that worked. Press the return key. I'm going to do the same thing with the keyboard. I'm going to plug that guy in and then up, down, up, down. Let's see, I'll turn it on. That should probably help. To use English as the main language. Now, you can keep it plugged in because it's not going to really matter, but so let's go ahead, continue. We're going to set this up as a new computer. So set up as new, continue, accessibility. I just hit not now. Wi-Fi, you can connect to the Wi-Fi network. Now, while this is happening, so a couple times throughout this thing, I'm going to just start doing things in parallel. So while this is happening, I'm going to go ahead and make the Google account. Google is what I'm using. Everybody's kind of got like Google Apps for work, or you can just make another Gmail if you'd like. but I'm using everything within my own Google Apps for work. So I went ahead and made a user in my Google admin. Now I'm going to go ahead and log into that user's account. And then one thing I'm going to do as well is I'm going to just start a sheet, private sheet, make sure it's somewhere super safe, maybe even just written down so it's not going anywhere, of all your kind of the logins that we're setting up and then the passwords. And the reason is you want to make sure that this is not anywhere publicly accessible or accessible basically by a computer. You want to put this somewhere that's private, and you just want to make sure that you're using separate logins for everything. So don't overlap passwords with anything that you have previously. Try to make these passwords completely different. Make them a small phrase with some characters. That's kind of how you make a good password. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we're going to continue the setup here. We're going to continue on this. Now, when creating a Mac account, so the way I've been doing this is, well, it's the way I've been doing it, but I guess I recommend it too. So make your full, choose a first and last name you want to associate to your bot or your ClawBot, your OpenClaw, whatever you want to call it, and put that as the Mac account. So the name I've chosen for this one is Zane Calder. I don't know why I like that name, but I do. So I'm going to go ahead with that, and then I'm going to put a password in there, hit continue. I keep this one checked, this allow computer account to be reset with your Apple password, or Apple account, just in case you happen to miss something and I don't know, at a later date, you need to figure out that you need to reset your account. You can go ahead and do that through the iCloud account, which is going to be linked to the Gmail that you make now, which we'll get into in the next step. But usually when I make the iCloud account, I just assume the same Gmail that I had set up because it all just kind of stays the same. So here we are. We're going to hit create new account. You remember, you're naturally going to think, well, why not just use my existing one? It has everything. Well, you don't want everything to be intertwined. The main reason is think about if you're a ClawBot for some random reason decides to go rogue. I'll give you a crazy example, but if you were to download a file, or you were tricked into downloading a file, or your ClawBot was, or somehow somebody hacked into it, you don't want that to be able to go and get into your iMessage and be able to send emails from your account and all that stuff, right? So that's why we keep everything completely separate iCloud, separate Google Apps account, separate email. Everything is separate. In a few minutes, I'm going to be setting up a couple of APIs, and I'm even using a separate virtual credit card number, meaning at any point I can go kill that credit card in 1 second. But again, keep everything separate. All right. So getting back to the setup here. So new Apple account. I just, for fun, I always do April 20th, 1991. It's easy to remember. So just do whatever, you'll remember. This is not super important. It's just basically to make sure you're over 18, I think. All right, so new Apple account, Zane Calder, zane@nick.co. And then we're going to put the same password that I'm using to stay consistent here. Continue. It's going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and verify this account. For this, you can use your own number. This is just for Apple to verify that there's a real human behind this, not that it's going to do anything with this number, okay? All right, so now we're back. We're going to go ahead and continue. We hit agree to Apple's terms and conditions. I can't imagine somebody not agreeing to Apple's terms and conditions here. All right, so now what it's doing is it's creating your Apple account, your iCloud account, kind of all the things associated with iCloud your bot will have on its computer, but it's not really going to use much of that. And you'll see why. But basically what I try to do is I set up everything with a Gmail. The reason is because I like to take advantage of the whole Google Suite. If you use your own kind of like work Gmail, and you use Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Drive, Google Calendar, Google Contacts, these are all pieces that your OpenClaw or your ClawBot will be able to tap into. It can look at your drive, it can read your emails, it can scan for things, it can go ahead and help you build a CRM with your contacts, and many other things. It can go and add a tab to one of your Google Sheets where you're doing a forecast based on some new information, maybe about COGS, whatever it may be, right? You can kind of have it do all those things, but it has to have that Google access. So this is just setting up the account. I'm not going to waste your time. Okay, so we made the iCloud account, and now we're just going to go ahead and hit continue on the iCloud keychain. I usually don't enable location on the Mac, not for really any reason. I just don't know why it needs it behind the time, so I just go ahead and set the time on my own. I also don't share Mac Analytics, even though like normally I do. I also don't share iCloud Analytics because, again, you just never know what's being sent back, all right? And Apple's one of those companies where they take privacy very seriously when it comes to boxing other people out, but not when it's their own stuff. All right, so we've got the Welcome to Mac screen here. If all goes well and this goes right into the desktop, I'm going to be able to switch this over to the screen recording. So now we're going to get into the actual setup of OpenClaw. So what we've done now is basically we have gotten into a new Mac and set up Zane's accounts. However, we need to get Zane's entire kind of OpenClaw system set up. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people who needs a mouse that moves fast. So I'm going to go ahead and move this to fast. Then I'm going to go to Safari. I'm going to go and search for Chrome, download. Encrypt this guy, download, allow, boom. All right, that's downloaded. I'll quit out of Safari, open the downloader, or rather the, God, I love when you don't have to install something. You can just drag and drop the actual application into the folder. Now that's done. I'm going to go ahead and eject Google Chrome. Make sure that you're constantly emptying things out, ejecting things. And then I'm going to go ahead into applications. I'm going to drag Chrome into my dock because I know I'm going to use it all the time. And I'm going to open it up. I'm fine making Chrome my default browser. I don't know about you, but that's pretty much all I use. Okay, now we're in. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. So now this is logged in. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to parallel track a couple things. So it's going to go a little quick, so feel free to pause and go back or whatever. I'm going to try to explain this as much as I can. So a couple things we're going to do. One is I am going to go ahead and install a couple things before I actually install OpenClaw. I'm also going to get a couple of accounts set up so that as I go through, there's really not, there's not a lot of time wasted. So first thing I'm going to do is there's a couple things you have to install when you get OpenClaw set up. One of them is called Homebrew, and one of them is called Node.js. I wish I could tell you really in depth what they do individually, but I can't. What I can tell you is those are the two things that are absolutely necessary when you're installing OpenClaw. And then a couple other things you need. One's going to be a API key for Anthropic, which owns Claude, the Claude models, Opus, Sonnet, etc. You could also use other API keys if you want. Like if you wanted to use an OpenAI, you wanted to use ChatGPT, or you wanted to use Gemini from Google, you could do that. But I will say that, and again, I'm a sample size of 1, but I would just recommend going with the Anthropic stuff. You're also going to need an API for search. I recommend using Brave. Brave Search API. It's like $5 for, I don't know, 5,000 searches or something. So you're not really going to spend much there. And then outside of that, we're going to get Google Console set up and a couple of other things. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to search for Node.js download. Going to hit this first link, Mac installer, download the package. That guy downloads, open it up, continue, agree, install, password. Installed. Then we're going to move that guy to trash because that's what we do. Next thing we're going to do is install Homebrew install. Now, Homebrew is actually installable through Terminal. So Terminal, I'm going to open it up here, is basically this code window. All right. I don't really know the best way to describe this other than code window. This is not something you've probably opened before or normally really need to open, but you're going to see that we will basically use Terminal in order to, or we're going to use Terminal, to install OpenClaw and install Homebrew. Sorry, I'm just thinking of like, what are the other couple things I got to do? So let's go ahead and get this going. So we're going to hit copy over here. We're going to hit paste over there. Then this is asking, you can see right here, this is something that's a little tricky to see, but it's asking for your password. So we're going to type the password. It's going to go ahead and install. Okay, we're enter to continue. Now this is installing. So let's see. Homebrew stuff you need for your Mac did it. Install back in your own directory. I don't know. I don't think we have to do a bunch of this other stuff. Now this is still running stuff, so don't click anything while this is going, okay? Until it shows that it's ready for you to type again, just leave it alone. Now while that's going, I'm going to go ahead and go to the openclaw.ai website. Now over here, this is the other kind of line of code that we're going to need. But because I'm me, we're also going to need to make a Claude account because I'm going to have to ask it a couple times why something is not working the way it's supposed to. I'm not super technical, and you know me, I'm all about that efficiency. So we're going to hit create account. We're going to verify a phone number. All right, so then we're going to go ahead for personal use. This is interesting. This free card used to be on the very left, so now they've moved it to the very right. They probably saw a lot of clicks happening here, and I wonder if they thought, oh, there's a lot of bots automatically going there. Interesting. Anyways, okay, what should I call you? Zane Calder, right? That's his name. Pick 3 topics. Let's go. Maybe later. I have my own topic. Okay, so now basically what I did is I got this Claude window set up for free, and I'm going to basically use this as kind of my Q&A for getting this set up. So this is my tech support. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the phrase, please see the screenshot below. I need your help to continue setting up OpenClaw. What should I do next? Make sure you reference the docs at docs.openclaw.ai. Okay, listen. Gio, who I mentioned earlier, told me this is one of the most important parts, the docs.openclaw.ai reference. And the reason you have to say, make sure you reference that is, well, I'll show you. That is where all the OpenClaw docs live, okay? This is what is constantly getting crawled by Claude, in this case, to help answer questions. And so by doing this, you're going to see in a second when I get stuck with Terminal, I'm going to just be able to do this, and Claude is going to tell me exactly what to do because it just went and read all those help docs, okay? So let's get started. I'm going to take this guy. Now see how this guy is ready to go. I'm going to put that there and hit enter. It says Homebrew's installed, no JS found. It is installing OpenClaw now. While this is doing that, I'm going to go ahead and search. Okay, actually, so now look, this said something failed, right? So I'm not really sure what that means. So I'm going to just take a screenshot, drag this in here, and hit send. And now Claude's going to go quickly read those docs at openclaw.ai, and then it's going to come back to me and tell me exactly what to do. So Claude is recommending that I basically, well, actually the best part is it doesn't even tell you what to do. It gives you the line of code to copy and paste, right? So, all right, so it says, hey, this is a very common thing. Boom. Here's your line of code, copy, paste it, hit enter. Once that's done, then go ahead. Oh, actually, look, it says error. So boom, take that, throw it in here. I'm going to just say I got an error. The best part, it's just going to give you the exact thing again. So boom, take this. Wait, hold on. Don't use, okay, wait. Can you just give me the exact Boom. Copy. Bada bing, it's thinking, and okay. So boom, see where it says added 540 packages? That means that it was a success. So it's gonna confirm that here, I believe. Yep, added 540 packages means we're good. Now we take this, go back in here, and it's gonna go ahead and, oh, that didn't do anything. This adds, okay. I'm gonna say again, just give me the line to copy paste. All right. Oh, I totally missed that. All right. So I was just staring at the left screen, but on the right side, it clearly started. So this is what OpenClaw onboarding looks like. You're going to see it looks kind of like I'm using my arrow keys here to go left and right. But we're now going to basically get through the onboarding. So before we do this, actually, I'm going to quickly jump over here and just search for a couple things. So Anthropic API key, I'm going to get one set up. So I go to the Anthropic console here, continue with Google, continue, individual, and then it's going to bring us to basically the dashboard. So for the dashboard, we're going to go in and basically buy some credits real quick. So let me buy some credits and I'll be right back. Shopify brands, this is the one. Roku Ads Manager lets you connect directly to your Shopify store and run streaming TV campaigns that can drive action, not just awareness. Roku's positioned this as a big differentiator. Shoppable TV through action ads and their Shopify integration. If you want top of funnel on the big screen with a proper path to purchase, go to advertising.roku.com/limited supply. Okay, so now it says I'm in. We're going to quickly, before we actually go grab the API key, we're going to go here to settings and then billing and then edit. And we're going to turn on auto reload. The way I normally do it is when it hits like 20, give me 30. That way there's just always some dollars in there. And then we're going to go back to API keys, create key. We're going to call this Zane Mac Mini, add, and that's our API key, okay? Next one we're going to bring up is Brave Search API key. So Brave Search, sign up, Zane at Nick. Calder. Tells you how much attribution is really carefully selected there, doesn't it? All right, we're gonna go back to Gmail. And boom, boom, log in, and we are in. So now that we're verified, we can go in and we're gonna do the same thing that we just did to Anthropic, except with Brave. So we're going to basically go in and go to billing, and then we're going to go to payment method. We're going to add a payment method here. And then once we add this payment method, then we can go ahead and turn on recurring billing with Brave. And that gives us the ability to grab an API key. All right, so I'm back. I'd added my credit card here. Now I'm going to go to available plans. I'm going to under search, I'm going to hit get started. Check that box, hit subscribe. The cool thing is you also get $5 in credits every month. So I'm going to set a little search spend to, I don't know, let's say $30. Oops, that changed to that. Okay, update usage. All right, so now we go to API keys. We add the key. We call it Zane Mac Mini. We hit add, and then we get our API key. So again, I'm going to save this for a second. We've now got both Anthropic and Brave Search. So we're going to go back to terminal, and again, just click in, and then you only use your left and right. Don't hit enter, all right? We're going to use space as a selector, left and right between the things, and then enter is like submit, so you can't go back from an enter. All right, I understand. Yes, I do. I'm going to go with quick start. Now here, I click on Anthropic. Anthropic owns Claude. These are all the other models you could insert if you'd like. I'm gonna go with Anthropic API key, paste the key. Go ahead, copy your key, paste it, hit enter. And then you're gonna go ahead and choose your model. I'm setting this up for somebody else, so I'm gonna use Sonnet 4.6. We're gonna use Telegram as our means of communication. So what I'm going to do is I will basically, let me screen record my iPhone now. All right, so go ahead and open up Telegram. Search for an account called BotFather, okay? It's a robot looking icon. It says BotFather. It's got a verification check. It says 7,956,424 monthly users. So make sure it's that one, okay? Then go ahead and in the message type /new bot. Okay, you're going to see a prompt pop up and just go ahead and click that. It's going to say, all right, a new bot. How are we going to call it? Please choose your name for your bot. I'm going to say Zane Calder. Send. It says good. Now choose a username, Zane _7362 bot. Okay, now you're going to get a big message, which basically has this thing at the bottom called the token. The token you cannot share with anybody, okay? That is basically what you need to enter over here in the terminal screen where it says enter Telegram bot token. That's where you're going to enter this thing. So in Telegram, you can tap the code and it pretty much copies it to your clipboard. Go ahead and send it over to your computer. Or honestly, I would probably just recommend putting it, just holding it, just reading it, looking at it, and typing it in. So that way it doesn't get transferred anywhere. I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Now we entered the bot token. As soon as you hit Command V and paste it in, or as soon as you hit enter, it just immediately throws you up to the search provider. So we're going to use Brave Search here. I've not used the other ones, I'll be honest, but I've heard that Brave is like the go-to and the best one to use. So we're going to go ahead, grab the API key here, paste that in there, and hit enter. Then it says configure skills now. I hit yes. Now over here, I basically just go down and do, actually what's cool, they have an 8 sleep skill, which I think is just awesome. But there's mainly one called GOG, and then there's another one called, which is the other one? There's GOG, which is Google. So that means it becomes native with all the Google stuff. And I thought there was one more, but let's just go ahead and hit enter. So it goes ahead and installs GOG as a skill, or Google. And let's see where we're going. So, all right. So then weirdly, after I just said no to everything else, it asked me. So I'm gonna hit no, 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 no. And then here I do boot, command logger, and session summary. So again, you just hit the space bar, hit enter. It's going to go ahead and install all these things one by one. How do you want to hatch your bot? Hatch in TUI. I think TUI is just terminal. So now it says this is now ClawBot. So you're now talking to your ClawBot. So I'm going to go ahead. It says, wake up my friend. It says, hey, I'm up, fresh session, no memory files yet. Looks like we're still pretty early on. I see there's a bootstrap.md in the workspace, which means we haven't done the whole figure out who I am thing now. Want to do that. Let's pick a name, vibe, persona. Okay, I'm going to say, hey, I'm setting this up for my sister. So, hey, I'm your human, Alicia Sharma. Let's see. Your name is Zane Calder. I need your help setting things up, and then we'll move the conversation over to Telegram. Sound good? All right, so this is now basically getting things up, and let's go ahead and get Google Console set up so you have your own email. All right, so what's cool is basically, this thing has no memory. So I just said, let's set up Google Console. It's going to quickly go figure out how we set up Google Console. The beauty is it comes back to you with exact instructions on how to do it. So we're going to get this guy set up. So I've actually done this before, so I'm going to speed through it. So this will pop up. You hit agree, select the project, new project. We're going to call this Zane's Mac Mini. Create. This guy is showing us that the project's being created. Boom, select project. Now we're in. We're going to go down here to, where's this guy? APIs and services, my bad. Credentials, and then we click in and see that we need to configure a consent screen. So we're going to go ahead and do this, get started. Zane's Mac Mini. User supported email, next. Internal, next. Zane. Next, finish, continue, create. Okay. Now that this is done, we go back to Zane's Mac Mini, go to the project, then we click on create OAuth client. We're going to go ahead and hit desktop. This is going to be called Zane's Mac Mini, create. And then we go ahead and download this file. So the file has been downloaded, and the file you're downloading is the JSON file. You don't need to get the other thing, the client ID, you don't need that. Just download the JSON file, and then you're gonna hit the file has been downloaded and is saved in my downloads. Now I can go ahead and basically grab right into there and basically get fully connected within Google. So now we need to add a Google account. So Google account is going to be zane@nick.co. And when you hit that, what it does is it's going to open up the browser and basically ask you to log in. And that way it knows itself that, or this is now basically giving it, the computer, access, you can see to everything. So you can go in and boom, you're now connected. Now I'm going to type the password in here. I'm going to hit always allow, and then here I'm going to hit done. Oh, okay, perfect. So it's now in there. Now, one thing that we are going to do that we didn't do is you have to go here and basically in the search, you got to search for a few things and enable their API. So this basically allows Zane to go in to the APIs that I'm enabling and then do pretty much anything I need. So we got Gmail, we're going to get Sheets, enable. Then we're going to go ahead and do docs. This is going to load. We hit enable. Again, this is going to allow us to go in and, go find a document, research through all of Google Drive to, put together a summary of something. Just a bunch of things that end up making this whole thing a lot easier. Also, one thing I want to talk about too is just this concept of second brain. So, one of my friends, David Perel, he's one of the smartest people ever. You may have followed him at some point on the internet. He's a great writer. And one of his secrets to writing well is, hold on, contacts. I'm trying to think as I do this. So one of his secrets is he has a second brain. He's basically got I think it's an Evernote file with almost everything that he's enjoyed from an article, from a newsletter, from a book, pictures he's taken and added, and it's kind of created this second brain for him. And I think that's an amazing way to kind of leverage your OpenClaw or ClawBot, is think of it as a second brain for you in terms of your work world. So your Fireflies meeting recordings, your read access to your email, to your Google Drive, to your calendar, read access to your Slack. If this thing has read access and can sort of do that, it sees everything you're seeing. And then if you are communicating with it through Telegram or whatever channel you use, I just recommend you use Telegram. You can sort of convey all your thoughts as well. But keep in mind, the calls that you have is kind of where your thoughts are conveyed. So if it's getting Fireflies or whatever your call recording system is, if you're dropping those in or you have an API connection, because you can set up an API through Fireflies or Otter or whatever these recorders are, then it's going to also constantly be understanding from the transcripts what you're saying and how you're thinking about things and what your opinion is on things, and sort of shape its own thinking in that way as well. All right, so we've basically got this all set up. The next thing I'm going to do is get my Telegram connected. So earlier we got Telegram set up in BotFather. that last message that the bot father sent you has a link at the top of that message. And it's basically t.me/your bot name. So go ahead and click that. And then it's going to say no messages here yet. Go ahead and click start. Then it's going to give you a pairing code. So go ahead and take that pairing code, enter that pairing code exactly as it is into your terminal. Pairing code for Telegram. Please connect and I'll chat with you there. So now that I've done this, it's going to go ahead and confirm that my Telegram access from my Telegram on my phone is, it's going to verify that it's requesting access. It's going to approve the access, and then I'll be able to communicate entirely through my phone. So I've got like 5 or 6 ClawBots now set up that I pretty much talk to on my phone on Telegram. If you use Telegram heavily like that, I recommend also going ahead and getting the premium subscription so you can make folders. So there's a lot of spam on Telegram. You're not going to get bogged down with that. The last thing I'll mention too, which is cool, is you can also message your Telegram directly and pretty much tell it to create sub-bots. So like you can say, I want a bot for brand tracking or competitor tracking. I want to create a sub-bot for looking at when new ads pop up in Ads Manager and you flag that to me. I want another bot for tracking all my finances or for handling my accounts receivable and, following up with people. And what's cool is you can also assign different models. Like we assigned Anthropic Sonnet. You can assign different models to different bots. So you can have an ad creative bot that uses Gemini, but you can have your, content bot use Opus, and you can have your email bot use Sonnet, right? So that way you're maximizing what each model can do for that function, but you're also saving money. Because if you're using Opus, for example, which is Claude's most expensive model, that's 10 times the cost of Sonnet, which Sonnet does probably 98% of the things you're going to need it to do. So that's also another thing you should probably just look into and understand kind of like, all right, well, which model should I use? And obviously the great thing about this is you can just ask it also and be like, what model would you recommend I use? And a lot of times it will tell you, hey, if your goal is to make sure you're not spending a crazy amount of money, I recommend you use Sonnet for this because it doesn't need that kind of level of complexity. All right, so I've now messaged my bot Zane here on Telegram, and it's now here. So my ClawBot's set up. Now, I'm going to obviously come out with just more stuff around this because I find it so fascinating that I've now got another person, Zane, that I can assign to get rolling on stuff to help me build a dashboard, whatever it may be. And I've done all those things. I've built landing pages. I've built full-on publisher websites. I built a full-on advertorial software. I just finished building a agentic focus group research thing. I've just got a bunch of things cooking because it's so easy. And to me, it feels like playing a video game, which is crazy because I grew up not playing video games ever. So yeah, it's awesome. I'll be back here next week with more stuff. I'm going to keep finding more things to put out. Just follow me on Twitter. Hit me on Twitter if you set this up, you run into any issues. And if I don't see you soon, I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise on CPG, retail, and e-commerce. If you enjoyed this episode, why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.